Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am your host, Vortex, from MobileMusicPro.com, your home for mobile music production. And if you are new to the channel, what we do here is release weekly videos teaching people how to produce music on their iOS device. And in today's video, we're going to be showing you how to use our very latest free tool, Essentials MIDI Pack 1, right after this. And remember folks, if you do enjoy this content, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Now of course, you could always go on the internet and look up all this scales and MIDI and chord information yourself, for example on Wikipedia and various other websites. But what we've done here is essentially put all of those scales and chords into MIDI files so that you can just drag and drop them right into your DAW. Now as we get into the tutorial, you are going to find out that using these files is pretty easy. All you have to do is pretty much think of the key that you want your song to be in, and then find that corresponding MIDI file labeled with that key, and then you pretty much just drag and drop it inside your DAW, and that's it, voila, you now have all of these scales relative to that key nice and highlighted for you. Now in addition to just the scales that you'll see inside of the MIDI, we've actually included the triad chords as well. Alright, now with that intro aside, let's hop right into our Files app and begin copying over these MIDI files into our DAW. Alright, now we are going to show you how to import these files into Nanostudio 2, Beatmaker 3, and Cubasis 3, but we're only going to actually demo the MIDI examples inside Cubasis 3, which is our DAW of choice here at Mobile Music Pro. Alright, now let's go ahead and get started importing these files into Beatmaker 3. Now the first thing that we have to do is copy the zip file inside of our Beatmaker 3 directory. So what we'll do is we'll find our zip file wherever you have it. Here we have it inside of our server, and what we'll do is we'll long tap on it, and then we'll tap on copy. Now what we're going to do is copy this into our Beatmaker 3 directory, so to find that, we'll tap on the On My iPad folder here under Browse Locations. And then we can scroll down to our Beatmaker 3 directory, and here it is right here, so we'll tap on Beatmaker 3, and then navigate to our Imports folder, and here we can long tap, and then tap Paste. And this will just take a couple seconds as the file is only a couple megabytes. Now once the file is here, we can unzip it so that we can use the files inside. So to unzip the file, all you have to do is just tap it once. And I'll just take a couple seconds here. And once that has been extracted, then you'll find all of your MIDI files inside of that folder right here. Now that we have our files ready to go, let's open up Beatmaker 3. And then once inside of Beatmaker 3, we're just going to tap on New Session, so we can start a brand new project here. Now since MIDI files don't actually produce sound by themselves, we're going to have to load up an instrument. So to pull up an instrument, the first thing we're going to do is close out of our browser, and then select our first pad here where it says A1, and then we're going to navigate to the Banks tab over here on the far left hand side. And with this first pad selected here, we're going to move all the way over to the right hand side of the screen and tap right here where it says Press to load a plugin. So we'll tap on that and bring up an audio unit AUV3 plugin. And let's scroll down to some type of piano here. Let's see if we can find Chord Module. There it is. So we'll tap on Chord Module and then tap on Load. Now to make sure that this app is loaded up and ready to go, let's go back to our pads page here on the left hand side. And now we can tap on a few of these pads to make sure that the sound works. Alright, perfect. Now that we have our app loaded up and ready to go, let's navigate to the Playlist tab. So we'll go all the way to the far left hand side again and tap on our Playlist button. And we'll make sure that that first bank that we had is selected, of course, which is A1. And now we'll bring up our file browser by tapping the burger menu in the top left hand corner. This menu here allows you to browse through all of your sessions and your banks and samples and so forth. But we're going to be navigating to the file browser icon here in the top center. So let's tap on that. Now this Documents tab is going to be displaying all of the files that are inside of our Beatmaker 3 directory. So you can see here we have exports, imports, MIDI exports, and so forth. And we'll navigate to the folder that we imported our MIDI files into, and that was the imports folder here. And of course, we already unzipped the file by tapping it just once, so we can just go inside of the folder. And there you go. Now you have access to all of the different MIDI files inside of that folder. And of course, all the MIDI files are labeled by key as well. So if we go and browse into the minor folder, you can see that your MIDI files are labeled A sharp, B minor, C minor, and so forth. So now let's go ahead and select one of these at random. Let's select the E minor file. And we're simply going to drag that over here into our timeline. And it's going to ask you if you want to transpose any of the notes in the MIDI file, but we don't want to do that here. So we're just going to tap on Import. There is the MIDI file right here on the timeline. Now we can explore this MIDI file and actually check out the notes by either double tapping it or closing out of the menu here in the top left hand corner and tapping on Pattern. And both ways will work and are easy to bring up your MIDI pattern. So let's double tap our MIDI this time. And let's zoom out. And there we go. Now we can see everything on one screen. And as you'll notice, you'll have the scale here on the left hand side. And to the right of that, we have our triad chords. And then finally our 4-note chords just to the right of that. And we'll be playing with these in just a second inside of Cubasis 3 after we show you how to import these files into the rest of the DAWs. But that is about it for this DAW. That is how easy it is to get your MIDI files up and running inside Beatmaker 3. And next up, we're going to be importing our files inside of Nanostudio 2. So we are inside of our file app again, and we have our zip file right here again. So let's go ahead and long tap on that and copy that again. And just like before, we're going to navigate to our On My iPad folder here underneath the Browse Location section. Except in this time, instead of going to Beatmaker 3, we're going to scroll down to Nanostudio 2. And there we have it right there. So let's navigate to Nanostudio 2 and then tap on our library folder here. And finally, let's navigate to the MIDI folder. And here is where we're going to long tap and paste. And again, this will just take a second as it's just a couple megabytes. And we're going to extract that as well so that we can use the files inside of this zip file. So again, to do that, we'll just tap on that once. And that'll just take a couple seconds and then be ready to go. Okay, now that we have our files copied over into our Nanostudio directory, let's go ahead and open up Nanostudio 2. Once Nanostudio 2 is open, we're going to create a brand new project. So let's tap on New, and we'll just call this Untitled 7. That's fine for now. We'll tap on Create. And just like usual, we have our Slate drum track here and our Obsidian instrument tracks ready to go. And what we're going to do next is tap on our browser icon here that looks like a file. We'll tap on that, and this will bring up our library. And as you can see, we have our folder that we extracted right here ready to go. So we'll tap on that. And this time, let's navigate down to our majors folder instead of our minor folder. And this time, we're going to bring over the C major file. And we'll just drag this on over to our track number 4, which is our Obsidian Superstrings. And since we don't need to adjust the tempo or anything like that, we're just going to tap on Import. And let's close our library by once again tapping on the file icon. And now we're ready to go. We can zoom out here, and then we can expand our MIDI by double tapping the region and opening up our piano roll. And just like before, we have our scale highlighted here on the left-hand side. To the right of that, we have our triad chords. And then finally, to the right of that, we have our 4-key chords here. And of course, we can always hear what this sounds like by tapping on play. And that's pretty much all there is to importing MIDI inside of Nanostudio 2. And finally, today we're going to show you how to get your MIDI files inside of Cubasis 3. So once again, we are here inside of our Files app, and we're going to copy our zip file once more. So we'll long tap on that, and then tap on Copy. And just like before, we will navigate to the On My iPad folder inside of the Browse Locations here on the far left-hand side. And this time we're going to scroll down to Cubasis 3. So once you found your Cubasis 3 folder, we'll tap on that, and then we're going to navigate to the MIDI folder. And here's where we're going to paste our files. So we're going to long tap, and then tap on Paste. And once that is done copying, we can easily extract that zip file by simply tapping on it once. And that'll just take a couple seconds. And once that is fully extracted, we will have access to all of these different files here inside of Cubasis 3. So now let's go ahead and open up Cubasis 3. And now we have a brand new fresh project open inside of Cubasis 3. So we're going to click on the Media Bay in the top left-hand corner. And we're going to find our MIDI section here, our MIDI tab, and tap on MIDI. And as you can see, here is all of the folders that we had inside of the Cubasis 3 directory. So now we can go into our Chords pack. And let's scroll down to the minor keys here. We'll tap on Minor. We'll long tap on the far left-hand side to begin dragging that over into our project. And there we go. There is the MIDI file ready to go. So we can tap on that. Expand this a little bit so you can see everything at once. And there we go. Just like before, we have our scales here highlighted on the left-hand side, and then our triad chords, and then our 4-key chords here. All right, that is pretty much all there is to getting your MIDI files inside of your favorite DAWs. We showed you how to import them first into Beatmaker 3, then Nanostudio 2, and now finally here into Cubasis 3. And now stick around for just the next couple minutes while we show you how to use these MIDI files. So the first thing that we're going to learn how to use here first is the scales. So for now, we can get rid of all of these chord progressions here and all of these chords. So we'll long tap, select all of those, and tap on Erase. Now we're just going to zoom in here a little bit. Now what we've chosen here is the A minor scale because we've dragged in the A minor MIDI file. And what that's going to do here is it's going to highlight the A minor scale, which means as long as you place notes wherever these lines are highlighted, you will always be in key. So this can come in really handy when you're building your chords. So let's just quickly build a quick chord progression now that we know exactly which notes we can use. So we'll tap on Draw, and let's start out here with F. So we'll drag this in. We'll drag in a C as well, and then finally an A. You can still see that these notes are highlighted within the scale. So we have our F matching here, and our C matching here, and then finally our A matching our A over here. So we can play this real quick. Perfect. And now if you were to draw outside of the scale, it wouldn't quite sound nearly as good. So let's keep going and draw our next chord. And now we've got our next chord drawn in here, which is made up of the E key, the C key, and the A key. And this together makes up an A minor chord. And again, as you can see, all three of these keys will match up with the scale. So now we'll draw in a couple more chords for you and then play them back. Alright, there we go. Now we have all four of our chords drawn in. And as you can see, each one of these notes will match up to the proper scale note. So now let's go ahead and loop this and listen to see what this sounds like. As you can hear, those chords didn't sound too bad. Of course, they're a little bit plain for my choice. I usually like to have at least 4 or 5, sometimes 6 notes in the chords to give them a little bit of extra sauce. But this is still a fantastic way to get started learning how to make your chords. And then once you do have your chords in there, you can continue to use the scale to figure out where to draw your melody notes. So of course, melodies are always a little bit higher than the chords, so we'll go drag up a little bit, and we can just begin drawing in some notes. So we'll tap on draw, and make sure we are on 8th notes, and let's just see if we can come up with a quick melody. Now we can just copy this over. We'll just copy this over a couple times and maybe change a couple notes. So let's copy this over here. Paste and paste over here, and then paste over here. Alright, we have finished drawing our pattern. And as you can see here, all of the notes are still perfectly within the scale here of A minor, as every single note will correspond to one of the notes here in the scale. And let's hear what this sounds like. Alright, let's zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see everything here. And that's pretty much all there is to it. To making sure that you always keep in scale, you just make sure that your notes correspond to the scale here for both your chords and your melodies. And the final thing we're going to show you how to do today is take some of these chords and create a chord progression. So as we mentioned before, you can see all of the chords here inside of the A minor scale. So what we're going to do first is remove these other chords that we don't need. So let's long tap here, select them all, and erase these 4 key chords. Now let's go ahead and select these chords and move these over a bit so that we have some room to create our progression. So we'll just drag these on over. Alright, perfect. Now let's go ahead and just zoom in a little bit here. Now because all of these chords are in the same scale, you can pretty much choose any one at random and create a decent sounding progression. And also there are numbers that correspond with each one of these chords. And since these are in order, they're going to go from 1 through 7. So that is the 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 chord. So let's try the 1 chord first. We'll copy that. Select where we want to paste that, and hit paste. And let's select our next bar, and now let's find our next chord here. Let's try the 4th chord, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's long tap, select those, and hit copy. And then we'll tap paste. Select our next bar, and now let's select our next chord. So far we have a 1 and a 4. Let's go ahead and try a 3 next. So we'll long tap here, once again tap copy, and once again paste. So now we have a 1, 4, and a 3 chord. Let's select our next bar, and let's go ahead and end this with a 7 chord. So let's long tap all the way to the right, select our 7 chord, tap on copy, and then tap on paste. Now let's extend these out to reach a full bar, so we'll long tap and select them all. We'll hold down the length button, and let's drag these out to a full bar. And let's maybe move these other chords just over to the right a little bit more. And now we'll loop just our chord progression here. Alright, now we have our progression loop, so now let's hear what this sounds like. Alright, that sounds pretty good for just randomly selecting some chords. Again, they are usually going to sound good because they're all in the same key. And that's really about it. That's pretty much how simple it is to start creating chords and melodies with these MIDI files. We of course still strongly encourage that you learn as much about music theory as you can. But while you're learning, it is still super helpful to have these files to accelerate your progress. Alright folks, it is time again for our final thoughts. And if you are still rocking with us, we can't thank you enough for being here. And we especially can't thank those people enough that watch our live streams and our live premieres every Wednesday and Friday. Now we hope that this video showed you how easy it really can be to start getting these MIDI files into your DAW, and how handy they really can become, especially if you're not fully familiar with music theory. There really are a ton of different MIDI packs out there, and in pretty much every single genre that you could ever find. And of course, Mobile Music Pro will be releasing a bunch of MIDI packs in the future as well. And speaking of new releases, we just announced the third pack in our Essentials Pack series. These sample packs are released completely free to the community to help new producers get started making professional sounding music as soon as possible. And we are super stoked about this one because this is one of my favorite genres, and that of course is synthwave. And this amazing new completely free Essentials Synthwave sample pack will be released April 28th in just a couple weeks. So if you do want to find out more details about it, make sure to visit mobilemusicpro.com/free. And finally, we are still giving away a brand new copy of Cubasis 3 every single month until June. So if you tried and didn't win yet in March or April, this could be your chance to win. To enter this free giveaway, all you have to do is visit mobilemusicpro.com and click on the Cubasis 3 giveaway link. And of course, we always have a ton more content coming down the pipe, folks. Everything from giveaways to contests to sample packs. If you want to keep up with it all, then definitely make sure to check out our absolutely free mailing list at mobilemusicpro.com. And so, until next time everybody, keep talking music and we'll see you later.